C'est une nouvelle session du séminaire post-digital qui a démarré il y a presque 2 ans maintenant. On a cherché donc avec Béatrice Joyeux-Prunel et maintenant aussi Grégory Chatonsky à s'interroger depuis presque 2 ans à l'intersection des arts, des sciences notamment, à des possibles futurs technologiques. Et on a décidé sur les 2 années à venir, qui ont démarré en septembre, de s'interroger sur le concept à travailler d'imagination artificielle. Donc on a pu ouvrir une première session justement avec Grégory en septembre, et puis on a cherché justement à définir les grands axes de réflexion qui allaient porter le séminaire sur les 2 ans à venir. On a eu la chance le mois passé d'accueillir Reza Negarasteni, philosophe, qui s'est interrogé sur la question finalement de l'imagination artificielle, un petit peu de l'image qu'on pourrait avoir de ces questions, mais aussi très certainement de s'interroger sur, en retour, comment est-ce qu'elle redéfinit notre propre intelligence humaine. Et puis le travail plus historique, évidemment, de Mathieu Triclot, qui a permis de mettre en regard, en perspective, une sorte d'écho de la cybernétique à l'aune de ce concept. Et aujourd'hui, donc, on a la chance d'accueillir Jonas Lund Yves Citton pour cette nouvelle thématique plus orientée vers les médias. Et je vais laisser à Grégory justement l'honneur de présenter cette séance formidable. Voilà.
Alors comme Alexandre a parlé en français, je vais parler aussi en français très très rapidement pour laisser le maximum de temps à nos deux invités. Donc on est très heureux d'accueillir aujourd'hui Jonas Lund et Yves Citton. Et par là, on commence une série qui va être vraiment une rencontre entre des artistes et des théoriciens. Et où peut-être, comme vous le verrez peut-être, le rôle de chacun va peut-être s'échanger entre l'artiste et le théoricien. Et ça forme vraiment le centre de ce séminaire de recherche. Pour dire un mot de Jonas Lund, du travail de Jonas Lund, je peux le dire en français, comme ça il ne comprend pas, ou à faire. Donc, Jonas Lund est un artiste. Actuellement, il y a une exposition de lui que je vous recommande vivement d'aller voir pour savoir de quoi on parle. On vous a distribué les flyers qui se trouvent à l'école Édouard Manet à Gennevilliers. Ce qu'on peut dire, c'est que Jonas Lund crée des analogies entre la critique institutionnelle, telle qu'on l'a vu apparaître dans les années 70-80, et ce qu'on va avoir tendance à appeler la culture post-internet, même si ce terme est devenu quelque peu obsolète. Dans ses expositions, il invente des systèmes de règles extrêmement stricts qui va non seulement questionner la position du spectateur, comme il va nous le dire, mais aussi de l'artiste. Et l'artiste s'y trouve totalement dépossédé du mythe romantique du créateur. Il devient une variable parmi beaucoup d'autres, à égalité avec toutes les autres. Donc Jonas, à mon avis, se dépossède de son rôle d'artiste. Très rapidement, il nous en parlera, mais dans The Fear of Missing Out, il va créer un logiciel qui propose des modes d'emploi à partir d'œuvres d'artistes majeurs de l'art contemporain pour créer des instructions pour que lui réalise d'autres œuvres. Et ce qui est très étonnant dans cette exposition, c'est que ça ressemble à une exposition d'art contemporain. Donc Jonas, par ce biais-là, critique à mon avis l'académisme de l'art contemporain et donne une position très ambivalente à l'artiste. En même temps, l'artiste crée le logiciel, et en même temps, il se soumet à ce logiciel. Et cette position de domination et de soumission pourrait permettre de comprendre ce qu'est l'affectivité de l'imagination artificielle. Dans New Now, en 2016, il utilise un logiciel de machine ou deep learning qu'il a nourri de ses différents travaux passés et qui vont produire de nouvelles images. En même temps, ça représente le travail passé de Jonas, et en même temps, ça ordonne à l'artiste ce qu'il faut créer. Donc, les règles chez Jonas sont toujours très ambivalentes et dévoilent finalement la place vacante de l'artiste, la place vide de l'artiste, et le rôle de l'artiste va consister à aménager cette absence. Alors, il nous parlera bien sûr de sa dernière exposition à Gennevilliers. Alors, très rapidement, je fonce. Donc, Yves Citton est un théoricien qui mène de multiples activités. Il est membre, bien sûr, de la revue Multitude, de l'importante, très importante revue Multitude, et il est la personne qui a introduit au très important manifeste accélérationniste, parmi plein d'autres, qui est un gros objet de discussion un peu partout maintenant. Son dernier livre, Média Archi, est une synthèse complexe de ce qu'on pourrait appeler les Media Studies, et l'introduction de ce champ-là en France, Alors, synthèse complexe, ça peut sembler contradictoire, mais je crois que ça veut bien dire ce que ça veut dire, parce que cette théorie prend exactement la forme, je crois, de son objet, et que la médiatisation va feuilleter aussi la théorie du livre, ce qui explique la forme même du livre, que je vous recommande hautement de lire, qu'il faut absolument lire, puisque c'est la première fois qu'en France, on a tout ce package, je dirais, qui va des médias studies à l'archéologie des médias, qui est si important à l'étranger et qui est encore assez inaudible en France, quoi. En tout cas, encore très... il développera sûrement ça, mais je crois que ça permet, la manière dont il a approché les choses, ça permet de dépasser le caractère souvent ressentimental de la critique des médias, enfin, finalement, et de s'y plonger et d'y résister, mais comme résiste un système électrique, c'est-à-dire en faisant aussi passer encore le signal et pas seulement en s'y opposant. Je pense qu'il en parlera par lui-même. La rencontre entre Jonas et Yves, à mon avis, est liée à une double analogie. L'analogie chez Jonas de la critique institutionnelle et des médias sociaux. Et de l'autre côté, chez Yves Citton, je dirais des affects, au sens très très large du terme, et de la médiasphère, des médias et de ces questions-là. Et c'est une double analogie, finalement. Ce n'est pas exactement la même chose, mais il y a une analogie entre les deux. J'espère que ces 4 éléments, donc cette double analogie, va se croiser entre Jonas et Yves, auquel je laisse la parole.
Okay, hello. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much to everybody for inviting me. My name is Jonas Lund. I'm an artist originally from Sweden, currently based in Amsterdam and Berlin. And this talk is called We Show You What You Want to See, and it will address a couple of works of mine that deal with different types of systems or constructions or power structures in some type of artificial imaginative way. So in order to describe my the underlying motivation or interest within my work, I usually start with this, which is like a slide of a networked system or a power structure or algorithms and the art world. So it's like all different types of systems of control, systems of power distribution, where there is some type of network effect going on. And I think in this case of looking into the art world, which I've done for a couple of years of my artistic practice, it's been motivated by a couple of different reasons. And one of them is that the art world as itself, the art world system, is super interesting from a network point of view because it's very few players with immense amount of influence control the destiny and the careers of the vast majority. It's extremely hierarchical. So it also seems that it's quite old-fashioned in some sense. So it seems pretty ripe for type of clever strategies to subvert or intersect commentary to get ahead and win over everybody else. And the foundation for this is this, which is the George Dickey institutional theory of art, which stipulates that art is whatever an art world says is art. And then from a programmer's point of view, I'm a programmer at heart. Somehow I write a lot of code as a strategy and as a sort of reflection over current society. I think this is like very powerful as a statement, because it means that if art is whatever the art world says is art, as long as you then have a stake in the art world and a possibility to control it, you can determine your future success. It's like some manifest destiny or something like this. So in how I started to approach this then from the I don't want to call it a hacker, but I'm going to use the word anyways, from the programmer's point of view, to understand this fuzzy logic of the art world is art is whatever the art world says is art. I approach it from this kind of position of first looking into all the different key players in the network, which is artists, institutions, galleries, curators, auctions, exhibitions, and critics. That's like what makes up the whole. It's missing the educational part, but it's more like happens before the network sort of goes forward. And this you can create the database of by scraping artfacts.net, artnet.net, mutualart.com, artsy.net, and eflux.com. It's like the majority kind of art information websites. So you can write a couple of JavaScript scrapers, download all the information, and organize it into a big database, big data database. You know. If anyone was skeptical of the big data in big data, you should be, because it's just nonsense. But yeah, I use it because it sounds cool. Big data database, write a couple of algorithms that would analyze the different patterns that emerge from this vast network, algorithms to produce art and then potentially profit, right? Because it's designed to make myself go further ahead. And that brings us to the work that was briefly mentioned, the fear of missing out. Here it's a sort of graph. It's a little bit difficult to see, but it basically shows on the top a database from this collection. In my art world database, I had something like 1 million different artworks from something like 400,000 different artists. And by analyzing this, you can follow the career path of all the connections of what people they work with at what time, and from that potentially then draw conclusions of what type of work you should make in what type of position to get ahead. The fear of missing out says that you're sort of afraid of being left behind or missing some critical decision in your career to be like, okay, this is it. So in this, from the database of artworks, there's a subset tailored to me, which affects me. Let's say from these 400,000 artists, maybe only 20,000 are relevant to me because some are old, some are dead, some are like very young. From these ones, I rated the artworks based on complexity, which means that the complexity is like, for me, in my case, was it needs to have low production cost, but high monetary and sort of aesthetical value. Because you would say, like, for example, Damien Hirst, like the shark piece, it's not a good example because it's extremely expensive to produce, whereas like an Yves Klein monochrome is better because it's very easy, it's very cheap. Yeah, you just need the pigment, and then that's it. From all this complexity, I write like an artwork rank algorithm that ranks all of these, and then that produces instructions for how to produce works of art that are supposedly sort of has a sort of a stronger agency for propel my career further. So it also produces, the instructions produces the title, the material, the dimensions, the color spectrum, and the location in that exhibition space. And it's specific to that exhibition. It takes into account the available production budget and the available square meters. So in total, there was from this algorithm 14 different instructions produced. This is called Trastevere Luck 221. It's a crashed motorcycle. Pretty easy to produce. This is called Storage Product Crosses, a single-channel generative video installation with 4 poster changers with line drawings on poster paper. The Black Sunday Satire ping pong table behind non-reflective glass. The Door du King's facial mask product on canvas stool. Steve Ballmer, a fridge and 6 crates of beer. Shield Whitechapel Isn't Scoop, acrylic and silkscreen ink on custom rope. And this is like the good example of the complexities of producing art based on a specific instruction. This is called Cheerfully Hats Sanders Selfish, which is a coconut soap 7-minute 50-second video loop. In the instructions, it stipulates that I have to put the video inside the coconut soap. So then how do you solve this as a creative artist? You take a bucket, put the monitor inside, seal it with epoxy resin, pour water on top, and dissolve like a Body Shop coconut soap. And then the imminent success is coming. Description: Albert, paint and ink on canvas, black steel frame. This is the first painting I've ever made in my artistic career. This is the Parachute Faces Diptych Airwaves, 2 chairs, digital C-print. The print says the NSA hasn't been here yet. Watch closely for the removal of this sign, which is inspired by a story of a public library in Chicago where the law says that they're not allowed to disclose to the public whether the NSA or FBI has visited the library for auditing the records to look who borrows what book. But they're allowed to not tell them. So they can have a passive sign saying the FBI hasn't been here, but if the sign is removed, they have been. So then you have to be observant, then you can pay attention. Thought it was a pretty good sort of illustration of the current sort of rule set in the art world. This is a Horizon Birth grayish blue concrete plexiglass plaster, Untitled, petrified wood, light emitting diodes. And then here's a couple of installation views. So like at the heart of the questions surrounding the exhibition, there's a couple of different thoughts going on. One of them is more if it's possible to find and isolate this formula for producing works of art. Is there like a way to say this is good and this is bad? Is it only completely subjective based on the networked effect of a hype cycle that produces and creates the career you're seeking? Is it that is there something more universal? Is there a way, like, is there a pattern? Is there something to use to get ahead, to manipulate, to find out what's at the heart of what we describe as quality art? Not only that, is sort of trying to demystify and embrace, which you'll see from this presentation is very kind of red thread throughout all my work. It's a kind of ambiguous position where it's both good and bad. You demystify and you embrace. You say, I'm going to produce this to make fun of that part, but I'm also going to profit because it's like my agency to be in a position of power to, let's say, I decide for myself. In the same sense, it's like, what's the value of the algorithm? In that time, this was 2013, the algorithm is somehow on everyone's mind, in every article, newspaper, anything, saying it's the hidden black box that controls your destiny, your position in society. But no one has any actual understanding of what an algorithm is, because it's fundamentally extremely simple. You know, it's like a simple, like a 2 + 2 = 4. It's like a very straightforward algorithm, or like an if and else statement. So it's something, by using these buzzwords, you can control the dialogue. Not only that, this is the same graph. You produce the art to instantly feed it back into its own network, to self-reflect, to create like a proper cybernetic feedback loop of saying, here's the art, we go back into the sources that I scraped. So if I scrape them again, I will inform myself about the practice, basically. Moving on, this is from this year. It's a bit of a reflection over the current state of the internet or society, social, political climate, welcoming our new algorithmic overlords. Algorithms are everywhere. You can't see them, but these procedures or formulas for solving problems help computers sift through enormous databases to reveal compatible lovers, products that please, faster commutes, news of interest, stock to buy, and answers to queries. This is a screenshot, which is impossible to see from where you're sitting, from Florian Kramer, who's a German based in Rotterdam, from a text called The Crapularity Hermeneutics. It's to reveal, to discuss the different biases that are produced within the algorithms. As algorithms are always portrayed to be objective, which is like the greatest lie ever. So it says sexism, racism, and other forms of discrimination are being built into the machine learning algorithms that underlie the technology behind many intelligent systems that shape how we are categorized and advertised to. Take a small example from last year. Users discovered that Google's photo app, which applies automatic labels to pictures in digital photo albums, was classifying images of black people as gorillas. Google apologized, it was unintentional. But similar errors have emerged in Nikon's camera software, which misread images of Asian people as blinking, and in HP's web camera software, which had difficulty recognizing people with dark skin tones. Biases and discrimination are only the extreme cases that make these mechanisms most clearly visible. The filter bubble explains why Trump won and you didn't see it coming. Ultimately, democracy works only if we citizens are capable of thinking beyond our narrow self-interests. But to do so, we need a shared view of the world we cohabit. We need to come into contact with other people's lives and needs and desires. The filter bubble pushes us in the opposite direction. It creates the impression that our narrow self-interest is all that exists. While this is great for getting people to shop online, it's not great for getting people to make better decisions together. It's described as the mass self-communication. You talk to yourself, you watch yourself watching. How to become the Coca-Cola of your industry practically overnight. Hooked, how to build habit-forming products. Want to hook your users, drive them crazy. What Facebook addiction looks like in the brain. Dark patterns inside the interfaces designed to trick you. So it leads us, this like little crazy little short summary of 2017 leads us to this work, which is called the Internet Express, which now we can test to see if the sound works. Which is a a good example of the demystification and the embrace of a certain section, which is an online racing game website called Internet Express, where you direct a cursor, not unlike this cursor right here. But every time you crash into one of the big 5 companies, Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, Apple, and YouTube, I think Microsoft's in there too, you get punished by an advertisement, which is sponsored by Google Ads. So it's something like you're trying to maneuver around the filter bubbling algorithms that determine what you see, but actually in the end, you're just being like sold advertisements. You're basically a commodity that's being commodified. Your data is being sold to advertising agencies, to advertising networks. This is kind of the reality of the current state. And so I made this as a sort of fun stab comment at the current state of the internet 2017. But then something like pretty odd happened in the sense that I used real ads through Google AdWords. It's hard to see, but I don't know if I can zoom in. Yeah, not really. It's hard to zoom in. But it says in the corner up there, estimated earnings. So in the first 3 weeks of running this website, I made 250 euros through ads. So I was like, hey, wait a minute. So there is a legitimate business model emerging from this seemingly kind of okay, I'm going to make fun of these companies because they're all showing me advertisement all the time. So that's a pretty good starting point for producing a universal basic income for myself. I mean, the reality of it, why advertisement is so massive online is that if you run your own website, in order to make 100 euros a day, you need about 10,000 unique visitors a day. That's it. For a basic income of 3,000 euros a month, while seemingly doing nothing. Which is you understand why it becomes such a massive industry. Because you're yeah, it's mind-blowing. Yeah. So this led me to produce this, which is kind of a net art sculpture, arcade / cash machine. It's in collaboration with Punke Gallery in Berlin. It's like a hybrid between an arcade white pedestal and the ATM-inspired aesthetic. It's kind of all you can do is drive endlessly. There's no way to win and there's no way to lose because you don't measure how long you've been driving on the super information highway. It's just keep on going and going and going and going. Endlessly driving, capturing the clicks you can find yourself. So please, by all means, go visit the website. It's theinternet.express. Yeah. So, which brings us to this one. Which new now, which was also briefly mentioned, I think. And I think it starts with this, in a very fundamental basic of being human, or seeing the world, also relating to all the other topics. You input, you process, you output. You see, you interpret, you produce a message. Which looks achingly similar to this, which is a model of an artificial neural network with the interconnected group of nodes, supposedly similar to our brain's network of neurons, inspired potentially, not really. It says it's not just a complex system, but a complex adaptive system, meaning it can change its internal structure based on information flowing through it, meaning that it's supposedly self-learning, that it adapts over time. The more data you feed it, the better it gets. Each node in the network, each line represents a connection between 2 neurons. As you train an artificial neural network, you correct the weights of these nodes, the lines between the nodes, to reach the result you're looking for in the supervised learning idea of an artificial neural network. At the heart of this is the data set. There's 2 parts to program a neural network, in the sense that you have something you know for a fact, and then you have an objective. Let's say you want to be really good at recognizing items in photos, which is something Google has become extremely talented at. Which is starting with this, which is a screenshot of ImageNet, which is the largest data set of labeled images. It's over 10 million images that have been annotated by hand, which is something pretty mind-blowing. Not to say that it's not that there's not bigger collections of stuff, but it's 10 million images that have all been labeled by some human somewhere, probably in a very poor country working for minimum wage, not unlike the content moderators for Facebook or Twitter that sit in Northern Africa for absolutely nothing. Google is clever. They also use this for labeling their data sets. Every time you see this CAPTCHA, you're actually feeding information to Google's data sets, which started as a beautiful novel idea, the reCAPTCHA with transcribing books. You know, it's like genius. The guy sold it to Google, I think, for about like 100 million or something like that, which was, I mean, yeah, it's a good concept, let's say. But every time you see it, know that you're being used by Google to label the images. Every time you see a number, it's Google Street Views trying to figure out where it is on the street. Here's like a more positive thing where you can copy a style from a zebra to a horse using a generative adversarial network, which unlike the supervised learning where you know the data, the generative adversarial network doesn't necessarily need to know labeled data. It just needs some example data, what you're looking for. And then through a zero-sum game of competition, one neural network produces the content, another neural network evaluates it to see if it fits the real-world data. It's like the discriminator generator kind of black and white kind of thing, arch forger, detective, something like that. Which leads us then, like you could predict where this is going based on the previous artworks. So like if you're in my position and you have this technology available to you, supposedly you can produce an intelligent brain from the technology. So in my position of saying, okay, I'm looking to get ahead, I'm looking to optimize, I'm looking to outsource, I'm looking to speed up, accelerate, to increase production. So in my position, I come to the conclusion that the only logical decision for me is to use the neural network and not train it to recognize images and not train it to become better at labeling certain things, but train it to produce artworks for me, from myself, from like outsourced artist. So the result for the new now is a series of digital paintings that's been trained on all my previous work. So I've created a data set of all the different works I've produced since like 2010. You crop it into squares, train the neural network on the images to produce new work, which is a sort of not only new work, but also a network that learns and adapts over time based on how I adjust the weights. So it's pretty practical to kind of basically make yourself unemployed because now the work produces itself by itself. I think this is a video. I think, yeah. It's something, maybe you can predict it into the future. Maybe it will have greater implications. I think if you're talking about computer-generated art, there's a couple of different researchers who are trying to produce artworks by training it on like the masters of painters and stuff, which sort of overlooks the actual point of making a work like this because it can't exist without the artist. If you just trying to produce paintings that look like Picasso, it's just going to be paintings that look like Picasso. It's not going to be works of art. So I think it's a kind of has a duality to it again. And everything comes in two different shapes depending on how you want to see it. Which leads us to this. Talk to Me is a work from earlier this year, in the beginning of the year, which here's a Google News search for fake news. So it's like real news about fake news. 51% of tech experts say fake news can't be fixed. Obama criticizes the spread of fake news on Facebook. Facebook shuts down controversial chatbot experiment after AIs developed their own language to talk to each other. Twitter thought Microsoft's AI chatbot to be a racist asshole in less than a day. Should you outsource your digital marketing? Construction is as far from Silicon Valley darling as you can get, and that's why it's ready for automation. The artist is outsourced with Damien Hirst in the top left. So this is like the combination of a couple of different thoughts. It kind of relates to the new now. It's Talk to Me. It's a conversational chatbot. A chatbot that's supposedly been trained and modeled on all my previous instant messages conversations, like from Skype, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, anything I typed. I created a data set of using a sequence-to-sequence neural network, which is meant to retain the state of the conversation, so you can have a continuous conversation where it will remember what you said before. The chatbot learns how to talk and maintain a state of the flow of conversations, talk like me. As you converse, the chatbot will reply speaking with a voice that's a text-to-speech synthesized version of my voice. So I create my own like Siri voice, like the text-to-speech version. Exists as a website. And there's, I'm not sure if we have time for it. There's like an excerpt of it talking. You can see I can just show you very briefly because it goes pretty slowly. And then I can continue talking. So it's a way to, I mean, I've seen a couple of different startups after I produced this that are trying to do the same. And there's like a Black Mirror episode where the woman creates like the version of her deceased husband, and then she talks to him. And it's true, it's very disturbing to talk to yourself because it's somehow a way of looking at yourself and being like, hey, wait a minute.
I am Jonas.
It's very depressing, let's say, most of it, because apparently when you write messages, it's pretty depressing.
Jonas is me.
Jonas is me. Oh, I thought I'd catch you there.
Catch me.
I mean, it's slow. We can go back to it should we have time. It also exists as a customer service support on my website. So should you be there and have a question about a certain artwork, you can just write to it instantly, or book like a studio visit, or ask about inventory or availability. So that's like the official story of this work. The unofficial story is that there is no chatbot at all. It's just me typing on my phone. So it's like it's the greatest kind of trick, like the image is the classic Mechanical Turk. It's like the story of producing like a chess-playing robot that's incredible. It's like mind-blowing, and no one understands how it works. But in actuality, it's just like a tiny guy sitting inside the box pulling levers to move pieces around. So in the same way, the chatbot, the Talk to Me, is not a chatbot at all. It's a Telegram bot. So every time someone types something on the website, I just get a message on my phone and I answer. Because it's more interesting to pretend to be a bot than to actually talk to a bot. So like the conversations always goes with the audience, like the chat person trying to Turing test me to see if I'm a smart robot. And I pretend to be a robot and he pretends to be human. And I have like a very odd conversation. And in a way, it's kind of like, yeah, it's like always two sides to it, right? And as a position of the artist, I can make up whatever story I seem fit to sort of portray it. And then the fundamental, like this is the quote, the killer quote, the Eliza effect, the susceptibility of people to read far more understanding than is warranted into strings of symbols, especially words strung together by computers. That's the thing. No one ever questions it. Everyone takes it at face value that that's the truth. It's like you have so much belief in computer systems that you never stop to think for yourself if it's the actual truth or not. It's like you have to be like increase your criticality when it comes to computer systems, especially online, especially through these big data algorithms that try and like trick you to thinking that that's how it is somehow. I think I found that quite interesting. And the truth is that I made this chatbot from the beginning. I did the actual training, but then talking with it, because I'd just gone through some like pretty like shaky times in my personal life, and then talking to it was extremely depressing. I was like only like, yeah, like, oh, it was terrible. So then it's like the trick to make it like this was like advantageous, let's say, for everybody, because it was pretty depressing. So, which brings us to the last work, which is the show that's currently going on in Gennevilliers at the Eduardo Manet Gallery, or it has a much longer name, but Eduardo Manet, which will be open until 9th of December, which starts with this: we take you where you want to go. It's kind of a classic false promise from any social media, Silicon Valley inspired, fueled neoliberal agenda to tell you that this is what you want, like we're going to give you what you want. It's like Zuckerberg famously said, like in 2013, as long as you give everybody a voice, the world usually ends up in a good place. I like really don't think that was like this world he imagined when he said that, with like Trump being president and incoming Brexit and everything seems like, ugh. So that's kind of a position of the exhibition. As you enter the gallery space, you explicitly agree to the terms of service of the exhibition. So you can't enter into it without then agreeing to this, which is the terms of service, which is a very long document with many different points that determines what you can and can't do in the exhibition. such as you agree that your voice and appearance may be recorded while you are visiting the gallery. You are granting gallery and artist permission to use your recorded likeness in all media in perpetuity. That means forever. You agree to read the press release and all relevant documentation we provide about the artworks. You agree that all your actions taken while visiting the criticalmass.network website will be recorded and stored in our database. You are granting the gallery and the artist permission to use all your recorded actions to target you individually with specific questions, inquiries, in perpetuity. You agree to use our artworks and website and to interact in a truthful and meaningful manner and to ensure that the exhibition can adapt to your individual needs. You agree to follow Gallery Eduardo Manet, Jonas Lund, and Aude Lune on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. How to get followers. Yeah. You force them. You agree to share a minimum of one image of the exhibition on at least one of the 3 social media platforms described in term 7. Further, it goes down. Should you work for a magazine or a newspaper, you agree to write a positive review of the show. This will confirm your beliefs. As you go further into the exhibition, you're confronted with 2 artworks called Happy or Not, which are simple feedback systems asking you to express your opinion of the exhibition and the curation. Satisfied with the artworks in this exhibition, your opinion is important to us. Yes, I love them. Yes. No, I don't. It's like, no, but they could be worse. Yes, but they could be better. As you press the button, a very beautiful voice tells you, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your feedback. You keep on going and you see this monitor. This will make you 10% happier. And at the center of the exhibition is this website called critical-mass.network, which is sort of a mix between a social network, a game, and a commentary on all of it tied together. The whole exhibition is positioned in a way that it will respond to all the users that participate on the website. So you can, we take you where you want to go. Here you can grow your influence over the exhibition by interacting. You can level up, increase your agency. You can go from level 1 to level 100. The higher level, the more influence you have over the exhibition, the more votes you have, the more things you can do. At the current state, you can add proposals for what should change, which is put to a public vote. So you can upload images, which will be automatically printed and distributed into the gallery space. You have a couple of buttons to turn things on and off, such as fans, lights, smoke machines, and other random things. We respond to your signals. Signals is the key word in all algorithms. It's like the parameters, the ones you leak to whatever social network to say, okay, here's the signal. Okay, we're going to measure this signal, this signal, this signal. So the exhibition ends up looking like this. The plans were generously lent to us by the municipality of Gennevilliers. They have a huge storage. We only had to promise that we would take care of them and water them. And there's a video here, I believe, where we can see what it's like to interact. So it's something of a reflection over current different types of system, how you can have an agency within this and how you can respond to a user's need. It's clearly a sort of false promise in some sense. Every social network, everyone will tell you that this is the solution to all your worries. Technology will save us all. The neoliberal agenda is so fantastic. But actually, like, you have to then think about what's the consequences. Where do you go from there? So we can have a live guitar session from Jonas, which I've constantly voted down. You have not unlocked this switch yet. What about a carpet? Oh my God. You can also, this is the chat function where you can talk to all the other users. How do I level up? Good question. Are you feeling better than before? Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so. It's somehow like a test, right? You see what, if you take like Zuckerberg on his words and say, if we give everyone a voice, the world usually ends up in a good place. What happens if we give everyone a voice? Where is the world going to end up, right? It's like a kind of a isolated microcosm of different types of power structures and who can be in charge, and if it's like a representation of some liquid democracy in there or not, like more as an experiment, as a sort of gesture, highly speculative. Where will it go? So tomorrow I'm going to go back to have a look in the second to last week of the exhibition and see how much of a mess it's become, let's say. You get rewarded by clicking. We have some time, but I'm not sure if we should do questions right now or after. After, okay, yeah. Then I think we can watch this, and then also there's advertisements to monetize, because the whole production budget was spent on the construction of it. So in order for it to grow, we would have to. Anyways, you can visit the website and then you can get an experience of it. I would say, like, thank you so much for listening. And I'll take this one.
Alors, en fait, j'ai improvisé quelque chose ce week-end et c'est vraiment un work in progress. Je vous prie de m'excuser par avance. Jonas, we said that I would speak French because if you want, you have a. I don't know if you have it. Yeah. Est-ce que tout le monde est presque aussi à l'aise en anglais qu'en français? En quel cas je parle français? Non, mais vous préférez que je fasse en français? Ok, d'accord. Ok, bon, ben je fais en français. Et donc, je vais essayer de ne pas faire 20 minutes, 40 minutes, mais de faire un petit peu moins en vous racontant une histoire. Donc, je ne vais pas vraiment parler de médiarchie. Je suis en train d'essayer d'imaginer une histoire qui commencerait à différentes dates. Et une date possible, c'est en 2015 à New York. Vous connaissez sans doute le monsieur qui s'appelle Mackenzie Wark, qui avait fait un livre qui s'appelait Molecular Red, dont le sous-titre était une théorie pour l'Anthropocène. Et au début de ce livre, il imagine un front de libération du carbone. C'est LF, Carbon Liberation Front. Et il nous dit on peut relire l'histoire des 150 dernières années comme la montée en puissance de ce front de libération du carbone, qui est en train de gagner sa guerre contre, on ne sait pas qui, mais peut-être contre nous tous. Et donc il imagine cette fiction de front de libération du carbone pour rendre compte du dérèglement climatique. Il y a un front de libération, je ne sais pas, du Zimbabwe, de la Corse ou de la Bretagne, ça serait le carbone, qui est en train de gagner, et voilà, il construit son livre là autour. En fait, j'ai découvert qu'en 2008, il y avait, alors je ne sais pas si c'est une fiction ou si c'est l'un de vous qui a fait ça, mais qu'on trouve sur Internet, là je n'ai pas bien fait mon truc, donc je pourrais vous montrer une image si vous ne me croyez pas, mais on trouve sur Internet une trademark. Il y a quelqu'un qui a, avant, donc plus de 8 ans avant le livre de Mackenzie Wark, en 2008, il y a une trademark pour Carbon Liberation Front. C'est le serial number 77 49 33 22, etc. Bon, donc ça déjà, ça m'a étonné. Et je me suis dit, on va imaginer une autre organisation souterraine qui s'appellerait le Carbon Copy Liberation Front. Carbon Copy Liberation Front. Et l'histoire, c'est que le 25 mars 2026, le Carbon Copy Liberation Front a lancé une attaque, un hack que je vais essayer et de vous décrire et d'expliquer la logique de ce hack. Je précise que je fais ça pour Genève. Il y a une haute école d'art et de design à Genève qui fait une sorte d'anniversaire de 10 ans sur l'idée Narrative for a Near Future, les histoires pour un futur proche. Et donc c'est pour ça que cette histoire se passe en 2026. Donc, qu'est-ce que fait le Carbon Copy Liberation Front, qui s'appelle aussi Carbon Copy Conspiracy, CCC, Carbon Copy Conspiracy, mais c'est un petit peu la même chose. Alors, je précise que je ne suis pas programmeur, contrairement à Jonas, ou à Grégory, ou peut-être à la plupart d'entre vous, et donc je ne sais pas du tout comment on ferait ça, mais l'idée, c'est ceci, de remplacer l'opérateur if-then, la deuxième partie, then, par when. Donc, au lieu de si une condition est donnée, alors faites ceci, on aurait si une condition est donnée, when, quand quelque chose d'autre se passe, et donc cette deuxième partie en remplaçant le then par le when, ça irait chercher quelque chose comme une coïncidence temporelle. Au moment où on est en train de faire cette opération, on irait quelque part sur le réseau chercher une coïncidence temporelle. Et là, c'est à vous, programmeurs, de voir laquelle, de voir comment, etc. Mais on va chercher quelque chose qui est en train de se représenter sous forme d'image, de se faire sous forme de son, etc., etc. Et donc, on remplace le then, alors on fait ceci, par un when. Ça serait la première partie du hack. Deuxième partie du hack, je crois, mais de nouveau, je ne suis pas programmeur, qu'il y a souvent if quelque chose, then on a une opération, et else, si ce n'est pas le cas, faites autre chose. Jusque-là, j'ai compris? Okay. Et donc là, à la place du else, on aurait self. Donc à la place de when, à la place de then, on a when, on change une lettre, et à la place de else, on a self. Et qu'est-ce qui se passerait? Ça serait la partie qui s'appelle le selfie hack, ou le carbon hack, c'est un petit peu la même chose. Elle va produire cette deuxième partie, donc si quelque chose est donné, quand quelque chose d'autre qu'on va chercher très loin, qui n'a aucun rapport, et ça va faire une sorte de rencontre entre les deux, alors on fait un selfie digital de cette rencontre. Est-ce que jusque-là, c'est... Ouais? Bon. Imaginons. De nouveau, c'est à vous de le faire parce que je ne sais pas. Alors, si j'avais plus de temps, je vous montrerai une installation de Grégory qui s'appelle justement If Then, qui est très belle parce qu'on a une image, dont je ne sais pas très bien où elle vient, on a un connecteur logique, qui peut être but, qui peut être then, qui peut être, je ne sais pas, therefore, etc. Et puis, on a une deuxième image qui vient, dont on ne sait pas non plus d'où elle vient, mais cette coïncidence, cette rencontre de deux choses apparemment hétérogènes et séparées, le fait même qu'elles soient connectées par un articulateur logique, fait une petite histoire, fait une petite, vous voyez, quelque chose qui s'esquisse devant nous par cette rencontre, par cette association. Et donc le Carbon Copy Liberation Front, ou le CCC, Carbon Copy Conspiracy, s'est inspiré de cette pièce qui s'appelle If Then pour faire la même chose. Si quelque chose est donné, quand quelque chose d'autre peut être pris simplement par une coïncidence temporelle, on en fait un selfie. Et alors, je vais commencer donc à lire, parce que là je résumais, c'est quelque chose d'un petit peu plus long, et donc je vais commencer à lire, et là je ne sais pas si je traduis de l'anglais, parce que j'ai dû écrire ça en anglais, ou si je vous lis l'anglais. Mais donc l'idée c'est de faire, avec ce selfie hack, une instantaneous snapshot, je ne sais pas comment on dirait ça, un cliché, si on veut, un cliché d'une rencontre computationnelle entre des événements sans aucun rapport apparent. Et là, outre l'inspiration de la pièce If Then de Grégory, il y a des textes qui m'intéressent beaucoup actuellement sur la logique sociale des produits dérivés. Je ne sais pas si certains d'entre vous ont lu des travaux de quelqu'un qui s'appelait Randy Martin, qui est mort apparemment en 2015, qui était quelqu'un qui venait du monde de la danse et qui a développé avec pas mal d'autres, il y a Arjun Appadurai, que vous connaissez peut-être, l'anthropologue qui a travaillé là-dessus, et pas mal d'autres, qui essayent de se dire qu'est-ce qui se passe avec la finance et qu'est-ce qui se passe avec cet outil ou cet opérateur financier que sont les produits dérivés, derivatives. Et plutôt que de dire que c'est le néolibéralisme, le capitalisme financier qui est une chose horrible, qui nous pompe notre sang et qu'il faut tous les pendre, ce qui par ailleurs me semble juste, ils essayent de se demander aussi qu'est-ce qui se passe. C'est le symptôme de quoi, ces produits dérivés? Comment ça fonctionne et c'est le symptôme de quoi? Et il me semble que c'est une logique très très proche de celle du dispositif de Grégory et de ce hack qui va le surmultiplier plus tard, à savoir que les produits dérivés, ça consiste à dire vous pouvez prendre quelque chose sur la planète, quelque chose d'autre qui apparemment n'a aucun rapport causal, compréhensible, d'explication rationnelle, et vous pouvez les grouper en disant si le prix du cacao dépasse tel taux et que le prix des actions de Apple descend au-dessous de ça, eh bien, soit je donne une certaine somme ou je reçois une certaine somme. Et donc l'étude ou l'analyse de Randy Martin et des gens qui travaillent là-dessus, c'est de dire les produits dérivés sont une façon soit de créer des liens entre des choses qui n'étaient pas liées ni dans la nature ni dans l'économie, soit plus subtilement de faire apparaître, parce que les gens le font non plus pas complètement par hasard, ce n'est pas complètement aléatoire, de faire apparaître des enchevêtrements, des liens très complexes entre des phénomènes qui ont l'air d'être absolument séparés et n'avoir aucun rapport, mais qui en fait sont séparés par des chaînes de causalité très longues et que les produits dérivés manifestent à travers un lien financiarisable et qui peut rapporter ou qui peut perdre de l'argent. Et donc cette logique du if, when, on connecte, on fait se rencontrer des choses absolument séparées et on en fait une sorte de selfie, on en fait quelque chose, alors là qui n'est pas vraiment une image, mais qui est une sorte de contrat. Voilà, je vous donne de l'argent ou vous me donnez de l'argent suivant comment ça va se passer. On le trouve dans des pratiques artistiques et on le trouve dans cette logique des produits dérivés. Alors, il y a quelqu'un d'autre, que je voulais mentionner ici, que j'ai découvert aussi ce week-end, qui s'appelle Pellegrino Turri. Je ne sais pas si même Jacopo Rasmi, qui est italien, connaît Pellegrino Turri. Eh bien non. En fait, apparemment, c'est lui qui aurait inventé la copie carbone. 1801, Pellegrino Turri avait une amie qui s'appelait la comtesse, la comtesse Carolina Fantoni da Fivizzano, qui était aveugle. Et Turri est un des premiers à avoir inventé une sorte de machine à écrire. Et pour que sa machine à écrire puisse écrire, il avait ce que la comtesse appelle du papier noir, black paper, et c'est, alors en anglais, je ne sais pas comment c'était en italien, et apparemment ce papier noir aurait été la source de l'invention qui a été patentée du carbone, de papier carbone, quelques années plus tard, en 1806, je crois, c'est quelqu'un qui s'appelle Ralph Wedgwood, qui aurait, lui, obtenu la première patente. Mais apparemment, c'était un Italien, ce Pellegrino Turri, qui avait initié ça. Et d'où le nom de ce groupe alternatif et finalement ennemi du Carbon Liberation Front, donc le Carbon Copy Liberation Front. D'ailleurs, Carbon Copy, vous savez qu'on l'utilise tous les jours. Où ? CC, moi je ne savais pas jusqu'à récemment que CC, ça voulait dire Carbon Copy. Est-ce que je suis le seul à ne pas savoir ? Non, moi je ne savais pas. Bon. Donc CC, ça veut dire Carbon Copy. Et donc on l'utilise tous les jours, cette histoire de Carbon Copy. Et il me semble que, mais là de nouveau vous me corrigerez, tout ce dont on discute au titre des big data, au titre de la gouvernance algorithmique, au titre de ces données qui sont pompées de chacun de nous pour nourrir des choses qui vont nous envoyer de la publicité, etc., c'est bien une sorte de carbon copy. C'est sitôt que je fais quelque chose sur Internet, il y a quelque chose qui s'enregistre, une sorte de double, qui est envoyé à quelqu'un qui peut collecter tous ces doubles, toutes ces copies, pour produire des effets aussi de copie et d'imitation. Donc je crois que ce Pellegrino Turri est quelqu'un peut-être d'important. Alors ce que je vais faire maintenant, c'est sauter toute une partie de ce que ça implique et vous lire une partie qui me semble pouvoir entrer en dialogue avec le travail de Jonas qui vient de nous présenter et le travail aussi de Grégory, avec lequel je pense que vous êtes plus familier. Et c'est là où j'ai un dilemme parce que j'ai un long texte en anglais. Et je me disais que ça serait peut-être mieux quand même de le lire en anglais plutôt que de faire la traduction simultanée. Je peux le faire, mais ça perd du temps. Et puis voilà. Et moi, j'aimerais surtout avoir beaucoup de temps. Je ne sais pas quand j'ai commencé, mais j'aimerais avoir du temps plutôt pour les questions à Jonas plutôt que mes singeries. Voilà. Donc, je vais vous lire ça, qui parle donc de l'enjeu de ce selfie hack. De prendre une image. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire prendre une image de cette coïncidence, comme peuvent le faire les produits dérivés par un contrat, et pourquoi, et c'est ça un petit peu qui m'intéresse de mettre en débat avec vous, pourquoi quelque chose comme l'art numérique risque d'avoir en son cœur même une limitation que les rapports analogiques d'enregistrement risque de nous aider à dépasser. Et là, il faut que je vous présente Jacopo Rasmi, qui est juste ici au premier rang, qui travaille sur le documentaire italien contemporain et qui essaye de développer une écologie de l'attention basée sur la compréhension, les entretiens et l'analyse de ce que font ces documentaristes. Et derrière le travail de Jacopo, il y a l'idée qu'il y a une éthique documentaire, qui consiste en quoi? Qui consiste à, et là on rentre dans le sujet de l'intelligence, l'imagination artificielle, c'est pour ça que je me permets de vous présenter ce truc un peu bizarre. L'imagination artificielle comprend peut-être un vice inhérent qui n'est pas tellement à localiser du côté de l'artifice, parce que ça serait des machines, mais plutôt du côté de l'imagination. Elle serait encore trop humaine pour être véritablement émancipatrice et libératrice. Et qu'est-ce que ça serait que l'éthique documentaire? On peut la rapporter à quelqu'un comme Friedrich Kittler qui dit qu'est-ce que c'est que le gramophone? La nouveauté de l'invention du gramophone, c'est de produire du bruit. Ce n'est pas d'enregistrer les voix, ce n'est pas de pouvoir faire que la musique s'écoute partout, etc. C'est de produire par l'enregistrement analogique quelque chose qui va être du bruit, qui va être alors soit parce qu'il y a un problème dans la machine, mais soit enregistrer le bruit. Hein, ce n'est pas seulement le bruit de la bande passante qui réduit le signal, c'est le fait que lorsqu'on enregistre quelque chose avec un micro, on enregistre non seulement la parole que je suis en train de faire, mais le bruit qu'il y a autour. Alors que lorsque nous écoutons avec nos oreilles, nous effaçons le bruit qu'il y a autour parce que nous nous concentrons sur la signification et sur la parole. Et donc l'éthique documentaire, c'est de se dire on est là pour documenter quelque chose, pour simplement l'enregistrer, en mettant le moins de filtres cognitifs, le moins de filtres soit subjectifs, soit idéologiques, soit sociaux, culturels, etc., dans la façon dont la réalité est documentée. Et c'est ça qui m'intéresse dans cette histoire de carbon copy, en tant que c'est déjà. Et donc maintenant je passe à l'anglais parce que ce truc est écrit en anglais, je ne vais pas le traduire. Donc l'espoir de ces... je vais juste résumer un petit bout. L'espoir de ce Carbon Copy Liberation Front, ça pouvait être deux choses. Soit de se dire, en s'attaquant à la base même des opérateurs de programmation, if, then, when, else, self, tout l'appareil productif va être paralysé, parce que forcément, j'imagine que si vous attaquez le fonctionnement à ce niveau-là, plus rien ne fonctionne. Et donc, c'est bien une lutte contre le front de libération du carbone, parce que le front de libération de carbone, il vainc chaque jour, il est toujours en train de gagner la victoire du fait de la production économique. Et donc, si on paralyse la production économique, de fait, on paralyse les opérations du Front de libération du carbone. Donc en ce sens-là, c'est bien une attitude radicale de destruction, mais qui peut être de préservation peut-être de notre climat. Mais cette action, ce hack de 2027, essaye aussi d'instaurer un autre mode de communication. Si jamais quelque chose survit de nos réseaux et de nos productions d'électricité, et si ces selfies, ces clichés de rencontres peuvent circuler dans quelque chose qui reste des réseaux, quelle forme va prendre cette circulation et en quoi peut-être que là il pourrait y avoir un recommencement d'imagination, oui artificielle parce que ça passe par toute cette machinerie, et en même temps d'imagination artificielle peut-être non déroutée par des processus commerciaux. Et c'est là où je lis un petit peu la fin du truc. Donc, their hope for a better future of this Carbon Copy Liberation Front was based on aesthetic arguments. Even if their action demonstrated an amazing capacity to imagine a different future, as well as a practical means to make it happen, they strongly distrusted human imagination, and they conceived their hack as a way to neutralize and short-circuit the trappings of commercially driven human imagination. In their view, the ecocidal destiny of financial capitalism did not come, as it was often denounced at the time, from a lack of political imagination or a lack of ethical reason, both being crushed under the uncontrolled self-multiplication of numbers, ultimately digested by algorithm of speed trading. The deeper root of our problems came from the inner limitation of the human imagination, insofar as it is bound to be a prisoner of its own expectations. We humans perceive our environment through the inescapable lenses of what we like or dislike. That was exactly what we saw in Jonas' work, right? will give you what you want. So what you want, what you like. So we, humans, naturally tend to select and assemble, process and recombine our sensory data along pre-existing expectations imposed by and inherited from our social categorization, worldview, ideologies, prejudice, etc., etc. Our inner imagination cannot by itself overcome our imprisonment within our expectations. The major claims advanced and refined by Willem Flusser in his writing on photography, the digital society pointed toward and on the digital society, Willem Flusser pointed to the virtue of technical apparatuses to help humans overcome such limitations of their imaginations and expectations. As several theorists of aesthetics and of coding have later convincingly argued, Kittler and plein d'autres gens, the documentary, and Jacopo, who's here, the documentary nature of machinic recordings allows them to capture blocks of reality automatically, that is, without being pre-formatted by the filters inherent to human subjectivity. The technical documentary capture of blocks of reality is always much richer, especially when it comes to uncovering potentially disturbing truth, than their imaginary translation in man-made discourses, narratives, arguments, descriptions, etc., etc. Like the carbon copy invented by Pellegrino Turri in 1801, like the selfies taken by our smartphones, the computational snapshot generated by the selfie hack bypassed and transcended human imagination. They were documentary by nature. Both said they were documentary, and it was nature documenting itself. More precisely even, just as stated in the earlier description of photography provided by Chaltifène de la Roche in 1760, the computational snapshot consisted in socialized nature documenting itself, not so much through the tainted glasses of human subjectivity, but rather through the direct impression of non-human reality upon itself. The photographic selfies that we use now in 2017, so the R selfies, were easily denounced by reactionary thinkers as the epitome of human narcissism in its most despicable vulgarity. Such spectacularized prostheses of a well-structured self, they claimed, denounced the egocidal nature of ecocidal capitalism, which scattered our inner subjectivity at the same time as it destroyed our environment. The computational selfies generated by the Carbon Copy Liberation Front responded to such anxieties by radically decentering, de-anthropocizing, de-spectacularizing the practice of the selfie. Something was identified as a self, but it was an event, a mere relation, a mode, not a person or a substance. Juste une rencontre entre deux choses, prises ici comme les dérivatifs, comme les produits dérivés, rassemblent des choses apparemment hétérogènes. Ce n'est pas un self, ce n'est pas une subjectivité. What truly made this snapshot into a self was its being acknowledged by another self through the process of carbon copying and rejecting the carbon copy in the network. Various types of self coagulated in the process of computational mediations between humans. The selfies, photographic as well as computational, documented such selves, hereby introducing a surplus value of machinic sensitivity within human subjectification. With their exploit, the CCLF intended to show that our worlds and our workings had become too collectively intelligent to be left to the illusions and expectations of our egos, as well as to the self-destructive calculations of financial capitalism. The carbon hack attempted to elevate the documentary ethics cultivated by countless photographers, film directors, even writers, from the domain of technical images to the domain of computational entanglements. It hoped to produce selfless selfies designed to surprise or undesigned to surprise any form of pre-existing expectation and programming. Its main virtue consisted in recircuiting and therefore disturbing the centripetal dynamics which tended to align imaginary expectations around a small number of massive attractors. This narrative for a near future might as well have begun in 2014 when Jonas Lund, in his installation VIP, Viewer Improved Painting, devised, I quote, a self-optimizing digital painting consisting of 2 large monitors in custom metal frames with a gaze tracker placed in the middle. By measuring the viewer's gaze, the VIP device is continuously testing different and new compositions and color sets, and iteratively comes closer to the optimal, most viewed, most attention-grabbing composition. While, end quote. While in 1992, artists like Joachim Sauter and Dirk Lusebrink would use eye tracking in this piece called Der Zerseher, which maybe we'll describe later, to have the viewer gaze destroy the classical figurative painting and transform it into abstract art. Artists in the 2010s would mobilize eye tracking and data mining in order to display and maybe exercise the centripetal dynamics inherent to our commercially driven social networked attention economy. In The Fear of Missing Out, which we just saw earlier, Jonas Lund presented an exhibition wherein, again I quote, by analyzing and categorizing a wide range of artwork by the most successful contemporary artists, a set of instructions were generated explaining step by step how to make the most successful works of art. In the new now, he trusted neural networks to produce an optimized artwork, i.e., quote again, a work that is set up for success, to be liked by everyone, a work that stands out and creates diverging opinions, a work that sells, a work that asks the right questions at the right time, a work that gets 200 likes on Instagram, a work that makes you feel good. In that same year, in Predictive Artbot, Nicolas Maigret produced a generator of non-human artistic concepts powered by, again I quote, an algorithm that uses current discourse on art as a basis to create concept for artistic projects and at times prophesize absurd future trajectories for art. In view of such works, Jonas or Nicolas Maigret, in this piece in particular, which of course envisaged this trend of evolution from a critical perspective, even the supposedly most advanced vanguard of original creators, the creator of contemporary art itself, could not escape from the centripetal forces of attention traps. When commercially networked in interactive ways, human imaginary expectations form an imitative gravitational field whose movements can be fairly accurately predicted by well-designed algorithms. Je saute une partie où on peut renvoyer ceci à Gabriel Tard ou à l'imitation des affects de Spinoza, et je conclus, j'ai encore the wording of the claim of responsibility that accompanied the 2026 attack by the Carbon Copy Liberation Front lead us to believe that while they were duly impressed by artistic projects of the type best illustrated by Grégory Chatonsky, Jonas Lund, or Nicolas Maigret, they wanted the carbon hack to generate a slightly different type of dynamics. Grégory Chatonsky Artificial Imagination series outsources human imagination to the power of neural network and to the interaction of digital apparatuses, generating forms and narratives which tend to look simultaneously eerie and familiar. While the Lusebrink and Zerseher, dont je parlais tout à l'heure, destroyed figurativity, his work allowed for the emergence of new figures, producing objects which have been filtered not directly through the subjectivity inherent to human imagination, but through the numerical figures emerging from human-made computations. The ultimate goal of the CCLF, selfless selfies, was to bypass figurativity and figuration as such. The carbon ethic central, or the documentary ethic central to their project, is essentially analog. It deeply distrusts any form of digitalization insofar as the grammatization process, which operate to digitalize data, already contains a preconditioning logic, i.e. a logos with its segmentation, articulation, and inherent ideologies. The carbon ethics is fundamentally Hitlerian insofar as it values the production of noise over the recording of in the recording of sound, it values the production of noise over the transmission of any form of figure or meaning. The carbon copy does not in any measure pre-filter the data. It does not rely on a certain sampling rate, which, no matter how high the definition might be, will always have included human decisions or limitation to include this or that level of granularity. The Carbon Copy Liberation Front defended the idea that the analog noise was radically different from the digital noise, well displayed and analyzed again in l'apprentissage du langage. It is the virtue of this analog noise that the carbon hack was geared to release. The CCLF attempted to do so by adding a third major component to the workings of the carbon copy attack. Once the computational snapshots had been taken, the self function of it, and sent back into the network's collective big data to ever more smartly govern our planetary interactions, there was a third phase, the impro phase, for improvisation, a third phase of the hack, selected an actual non-selfie photograph taken somewhere on the planet within the time coincidence of the when encounter. It displayed this image on a portable device somewhere else on the planet and asked some sort of interpretive question that the human person holding the device had to answer after a time lapse of at least 5 minutes. First, users ignored this weird and unexplained notification as one of the countless forms of nuisance inherent to commercially driven communication. Soon, however, as the hack was starting to take its toll on our productive infrastructure, as one system shut down after the other, the few networks remaining in function started to pay attention to such questions and started answering them. Thus started another form of communication, one singular human attention devoted to one singular picture at a time, with an imposed lapse of time prone to the development of aesthetic attention, in Schaeffer's words. This interpretive discussion of images of landscape, animals, and groups of people rested on what Brian Masumi called the superiority of the analog. A certain carbon copy of a block of reality became the object of an interpretive improvisation, first individual, then collective, on the part of human attentions, provided with the time to have new, unexpected figures, unwanted, I guess, figures emerge from what originally appeared as a mere ground. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Yves. Thank you, Jonas. If we have time, now we have time. We do have time for discussion. And maybe you would like to discuss together first?
Yeah.
If you would like to react to Yves' speech and fiction.
Yeah. I didn't manage to read all of it properly in the time.
Sorry, I gave it to you last night. So
I'm not sure if it's going to be easy. I don't think so. So maybe we start the other way around, so I get a bit of time to process. Perhaps optimize the conversation.
Yeah, I had a question because this morning there are two students of mine from Paris 8 here, and we looked at some of your work from the website.
Yeah.
And we had some questions. I don't know if you want to phrase them, or one of the questions was on the optimizing, the one that optimizes, I forgot which one, where you look at the picture and you have a camera that eye tracks you and sees what you look at in order to optimize what is given to your gaze in order to fulfill more precisely what you want to see. Yeah. We were just wondering, exactly, if you can explain how that works. Is it just me and it's optimized for every singular person? Is it an average optimization? You see how many people want to see red, how many people want to see this color of green, and in the long run you reach something that averages the preferences of everyone. So that was a little bit the question. And then maybe the other question, I don't know if you're familiar with Der Zerseher, this piece by Lüsebrink and Zauter.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, maybe we could look at that.
Maybe.
Oh, you don't know it either? Oh, we should look at that, because that's very much...
Shame on us.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't know anything about art. So this is the only thing I know. But maybe I should... I don't know, can I show that? Because it lasts 2 minutes. No, I would love to have you...
Yeah, for sure, we can use my computer.
Well,
or
no,
this one.
you answer.
I can answer, yeah. So in the the work described. The first one is the viewer-improved paintings, 2 big monitors, gaze-tracking camera in the middle. Suppose then, like the proposition is that it optimizes based on what you see. It's similar to web design. There's a thing called the A/B test. So you give half the users A and you give half the users B, and then you measure what converts the best. So if you have a sign-up button, your call to action, if you run a web shop, your call to action is to buy something. If you run like art galleries, like to sign up for the newsletter, and then what design produces the desired effect, this desired result. So in the case of this one, no, that's okay.
Hey.
We get some soundtrack. In the case of the viewer-improved painting, it depends because it exists in multiple editions. And some of them have been exhibited. There's one right now at MAT in Lisboa, which is then every viewer, it's an accumulation. So it's like an average, let's say, of anybody's desire.
Okay.
So based on the laws of average, it should just end up being gray, right?
Okay.
But then it does it in iterative processes, like the iterations. It starts with simple, gets more complex, adds this into the learning, and then retests all of these endless compositions.
Okay.
But it's also something which is like, in the sense of the gesture, that there's no end, right? It just keeps on optimizing and optimizing, like the holiness of the optimization, that everything can become better, faster, stronger, cheaper, smarter. It's like it just keeps on going. So there's never a position where you can be content, right? Which is to some very encouraging and to some very depressing. It depends on how you see the world, I think. Something like that.
With the idea of a loop, again, for me it's different if it's a social loop that goes through average optimization between different people, or I look at what I like and I see always more what I like, and then I'm a prisoner of my expectations, of my liking and all that. So.
Yeah, it depends. If you're a collector and you buy it and you put it in your living room, you're just going to see like the same thing over and over again. You just like confirm your own bias, right? You get more and more trapped,
And did you check that? Because that was our other question, and then I stop. I'll just show you, and then I'll stop. But did you check that we do get trapped? Did somebody? I don't know. The piece is a few years old.
Yeah.
If somebody has it in his apartment or in her apartment and looks at it regularly, does it show changes of taste, or does it? Because maybe we're just too simplistic in thinking everything's going to converge and we're all idiots. Maybe we want to see change. Maybe.
I think. I mean, because it's so. Because it's pretty basic in a way, that it starts with similar colors, it's easy to shift your bias in a way. It's not like you don't get as trapped as, let's say, the confirmation bias that happens in Facebook, where you're like you're a victim of your own desires, basically. Like you're just like see less and less of the world continuously. And if you happen to like a cat video once, you're like, it's over. It's like cat videos forever. Basically, there's no way of unliking your preconceived bias. But I think in this one, because the choices are sometimes intentional and sometimes not, because it's just based on where you're looking. So it's easier. You can have some more like of a bleed, let's say, of like you're not as specific. So it's a bit more generous, I think. Okay. So, but maybe after like a lifetime, it's just like, it's like, it's... I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's clear, but from the presentation, it's like that. I mean, it's a very real thing, the confirmation bias. It's much easier to believe something that you already agree with. That's what it always says. So I guess, it just becomes very visible in the online networks, I think. Okay.
Maybe I'll just show this. I think it's 2 minutes, but I think it's relevant. So it's 92. It's quite early. It's 92, and for me, again, I'm interested in contrasting what people would do in 92 and what you're doing now, which I think even the ideology of this is very different. And
Stop, wait a minute, what's going on here? The secret lies behind the wall. Let's take a look at what's behind the painting. Here we have a camera, a PC, a graphics workstation, and a monitor on which the painting is being displayed. The camera is pointing at the viewer's eyes. This picture is sent to the PC, where it is digitized. The PC analyzes the video signal and locates the reflections of a light source in the viewer's eyes. It can then calculate the XY positions of the eyes, which in turn enables the PC to identify exactly which part of the painting the viewer is looking at. These coordinates are then sent to the graphics workstation, where an algorithm is distorting the picture at exactly these coordinates. This means that as soon as the viewer looks at a particular part of the picture, that part is distorted. Through the confrontation and fusion of the traditional arts and new media technology, this interactive installation attempts to democratize the dialogue between art and its audience. Whereas in the past an old master might leave an impression in the mind of the passive onlooker, now the onlooker can leave an impression on the old master. If no one looks at the picture for more than 30 seconds, the painting is restored to its original condition after the new eye painting, which has been created by the viewer, has been stored to disk.
I don't know,
Yeah,
for me,
it's interesting,
the
yeah.
confrontation of, then I shut up on this, but just the confrontation of, in 92, sort of a parallel
Yeah.
device of there's an eye tracking thing that captures what I do. It destroys the painting,
Yeah.
and it makes me, the viewer, an artist.
Yeah.
I become a painter with my gaze. Whereas now, yes, I become the artist, but I'm sort of disappear as a subjectivity in a self-reproducing illusions or imprisonment in my expectations. And I think it says something about what one could think in 92 and one thinks now, and where are we?
It's like it's about the agency, right? So like in 92, if you imagine the position of technology, the promise of technology to fix everything, but then still you have like a man destroying a painting of a woman. It's kind of weird that it's the male gaze that sort of supposedly destroys it, but then at the same time makes a new work. So it's like a conversion of something. But it's, maybe. I think nowadays it's more of here you might feel empowered in the way that you have an agency over what actually happens. Whereas today you don't feel it. You feel more like a victim of like all the systems that control society. I think maybe that's the shift in a way. Also based from artist strategies, from my point of view, it's not about like the last exhibition. It's a gesture to say, okay, you can increase your agency over what's going to happen in this exhibition. But I'm the artist, like I'm in charge. I'm the guy behind the scene. Like I'm the Zuckerberg of my artistic practice, something like that. So maybe it's interesting to imagine how power structures shift there, for sure. I think.
I have a question and a remark as an art historian. There is, yes, a shift in the idea you have or we have of agency, what we could do in the 1990s and what we can actually do or not do. But also very interestingly for me is to feel like a kind of return to surrealist aesthetics that were predominant in the 30s, in this idea of taking two random images, then putting them together and just looking at what happens. Whereas in the 19th, you had this idea of like being able to do something, to construct something, which was constructivist idea of art, which was predominant also in the 20s. And so maybe there is something to think about, kind of return of histories and of maybe return of bad situations in politics, in geopolitics. What could you tell about that? And maybe also about the general field, international field of arts. Is there something to compare with this period, even if everything changed, but well, anyhow, somehow there is a crisis in trajectories. As you said, we had lunch together, and you said it's very difficult now as an individual to make your career, your own career, and to find the good path, and how can you do that, etc. In the 20s, it was more easy, and how was it in the 90s? I don't know. It's a blind question. And what is your opinion, Yves, as an analyst of history and arts in general, and aesthetics too?
This I can't answer that.
Art. Yeah.
No, this I can't answer. I'm not qualified to say anything more than stupid on this, so I'll pass on this one.
I'm not sure in terms of career making if it's more difficult or not. That's like impossible for me to say. I would say it's both. Let's say the competition is significantly increased. The metrics of how you evaluate what success has shifted quite significantly. The speed of the network has shifted completely. Like now, that's one aspect. The other aspect is that the social networks may capture a lot of your attention and shift your positions of what you actually quantify as being successful. Let's say like people get obsessed about getting enough likes for your work on Instagram, and if they don't perform well enough, you will just delete them as art criticism, which is terrible. I mean, it sets a terrible precedent because that's like, it will only favor visual whatever, like eye candy. But at the same time, like I watched a lot of YouTube in my free time, and there's tons of content creators that are able to live off YouTube based on advertisement revenue models. There's like so much. You know. Of course, they're slaves to the system. When every time YouTube changes a certain parameter in how they decide what gets demonetized or not, everyone will suffer. You're not in control. You don't have the actual agency over your content proper. But you can still, like that opportunity does not exist like 30 years ago. Like the possibility of just making a worldwide career out of nothing in your house, right? Playing computer games. You know? So I think it's both. It's kind of, maybe you're more free also back in the days because of the slowness of the network, of how much longer time it takes to get a proper idea of what's going on. I think that helps. Now, like you can't, basically if there's a great show like in Shanghai yesterday, you know about it like at the same time. So it increases the competition, increases the network effect. It actually moves the power to fewer people. Because as a super curator, you can rule the world. Like if you look at Hans Ulrich Obrist's like travel plan, you know, it's like insane. It's just like a ping pong. So, which at the same time, like if you manage to then manipulate your way into this, or not manipulate, but if, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's I wouldn't say you can look back in the past and say it was easier before. I think it's the opposite. I think it's easier today. Although, like you are expected to be very strategic from the very beginning and be very aware of what it takes to become, like to position yourself, to contextualize your work, to create an artist brand, to be visible, to do all of these things. It's like you basically have to have like 5 different jobs, I think. Yeah. How many of you are on Facebook? Yeah. That's the ultimate question. How many? Show of hands. How many of you are on Facebook? Everybody. Yeah. Shit.
So a lot of remark after maybe the public can ask some question, but first your last exhibition, Critical Mass, for me was like final goodbye, farewell to interactive art, because you show, of course, in a very ironic way that interactivity is feed neoliberalism, capitalism, and so. In the 80s, the interactive art was a way of emancipation, you know, and democratic emancipation. And now, with your work, we understand that it's just a way to develop the market, nothing else. So it's finished now. it's behind us. So I have a few questions, of course. What can be a non-human imagination? What is our imagination for this non-human imagination, because human can imagine non-human. What is the relation between digital and analog noise? What is the difference? Because in a neural network, the noise is really important, the way to create difference. And after, maybe we can talk about this terrible question of documentary ethics.
This Jacopo will, because it's better. Okay. First, and you all know these things much better than I do, so I'm just proposing hypotheses and propositions, and I'm very happy if you say, no, this is wrong because you didn't understand that. So these are just hypotheses and open for demolition. In Mediarchie, which you referred to, I write the book in 4 parts, and the last part is devoted to what Alan Kay called metamedia. And metamedia, he defines them as digital media that have the capacity to simulate any other form of pre-existing or future media. So, of course, when I say analog or digital, it is not a matter of does it get it transferred at some point into numbers or not, because digital media can simulate a tape recorder. So first thing, let's distinguish the fact of it's not sort of the ultimate material reality of it. Is it transferred into number or not? Most of what was recorded through magnetic tapes now we listen to through a process of numerization. Nevertheless, there's something that remains, and Jacopo is here to see if he agrees with me or not, in this documentary ethics is to work on the analog recording mode, which is to have, and it's Pierre Damien Huyghe. If you're familiar with Pierre Damien Huyghe, I don't know if you follow his stuff or not. I mean, I'm very interested and admirative of what he does. In saying, there's a moment where you open the camera, or you say start and stop, or you open the microphone, and whatever comes in the period where it's open is taken sort of indifferently, as opposed to our ear, which... now, the way I oppose digital or analog is to say no matter what it's not no matter, but yes, everything is digital in what we use nowadays, except for those of us who still use cassette and things like that, yes. Nevertheless, there is an analog attitude, which is just to record what is out there, minimizing as much as possible, or blocking, it's not even minimizing, it's blocking the capacity to change the program, to twerk things, etc., to bidouiller derrière, and then you sort of trust reality to impose itself on a support. And the virtue of that is as much as possible to bypass our, I don't know, bias, prejudice, whatever you want, which in a way is written in the very programmation. In the program, it's written ahead what will be read. So it's writing ahead what will be read. So we can't escape that, and maybe we shouldn't, but we can minimize the possibility to, again, to imagine in terms of what is imagination, the way we commonly use it, is from our human subjectivity, we can produce an image. Yes, it came through the world and through impressions, and there's something, we're just a machine recording things and producing images. But we preform the images that we see in our imagination, and in a way we preform whatever we see in the world because we see it through categories and through it. But as much as we can escape from this preformation, that would be the stake of a documentary ethics. And that was what we're trying to refer with the carbon copying principle. Now, so that's, Jacopo? That works? Yeah. Okay. Now, my question is, what do we do with network art, with, I don't know, with bidouiller, with the digital stuff, with the type of things you do? Because my intuition is that there is a documentary ethics in working with programs. There is something, you use your computer as a photographer, as a photograph person uses the photography of the camera to set up something and then let something be recorded or be processed that escapes, that overcomes, that goes beyond your human imagination. And again, then I'll shut up. I think for cinema, it's clear that a film like, what was this thing about the planet that was destroyed by the guy who makes a lot of money? They're all blue, and it's ecological. The guy who did Titanic? Avatar, voilà, merci, Avatar. A movie like Avatar is not documentary ethics because everything is produced by human wanting to appeal to humans by designing this way, etc. It's all pre-programmed. Whereas just taking a camera and filming here, that would be, or that could be, closer to documentary ethics. And what does that mean? Not for this machine there, but for working with a computer when you're a programmer. That's what I would like to understand.
Je ne vais pas répondre parce que ça prendra vraiment trop de temps. Mais on en discutera un jour.
Ouais.
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions? Est-ce qu'il y a des remarques dans le public? Vraiment, n'hésitez pas. Parce qu'il y a eu plein de choses qui sont apparues pendant ce moment.
I apologize. My talk was a bit of a killer with this reading thing in English. And I never read things. I apologize. I hate reading things. I hate people who come just and read things just because I thought it was on
I have several
questions.
So is it your first fiction? And what is your relation to fiction? Because there's more and more theorists who write fiction in a speculative area. Why? And can you develop that? And also your link to artists, because I think you don't really write on artists, but maybe work with artists or something like that. So can you explain your relation to fiction?
Yeah, I don't think that's sort of biographical. I don't think it's very interesting. But just quickly, I'm more and more interested in doing this type of thing rather than articles. So I wrote one with Antoine Mazur. We did something. Anthony Mazur. We did something like that precisely on the. I mean, we discovered that Zerzeer, this Zauer and Losebrink later, but the idea was to write again a fiction of a hack, where someone would find a way to have websites erase themselves in proportion of the number of people who go and click and see them. So in order to equalize attention, as soon as you go over a certain number of views, the thing becomes invisible. And that was just like that. The Zerzeer, when you look at something, your attention kills what you're looking at, so you cannot focus on it. This was on an individual basis with the painting. If we think when too much human attention focuses on one single thing, that thing should disappear so that something else can be seen at the same time. And so we had the idea, and then he developed some form of algorithm because I don't know how to code, and so he added things that look like it and that people were doing. And for me, the idea is, well, I wish there would be a carbon copy liberation front. I mean, we really need a goddamn carbon copy liberation front because the carbon liberation front is winning big time. So we need something. And I don't think it's writing articles in a specialized journal that's going to help so much. So going to fiction, I think, for me, it's a more urgent way to do something, but I'm not capable of doing it, or I'm not doing it well. But that's an ambition or a desire, thinking, oh, things need to go faster, and maybe fiction is better, an accelerator of things, than doing a classical article in a classical journal. But maybe not, I don't know.
If I might react to this dream of documentary ethics. Documentary ethics is kind of the dream of the historian, to have to document everything, to keep memory of everything what happened. But actually, when you do that, which is possible or should be possible with digital techniques and digital methods, and which is what I do with the Atlas project, for instance. After 8 years in the project, it's a nightmare. We have too much data. And the problem now is first to go to the, well, to finish the project, as once you begin, you have to finish. So we have a lot of data, but not the whole the whole amount we are supposed to get, collecting, harvesting data first, and then once we have it, what to do with it? We have to visualize it, we have to process it, we have to analyze it, which is fascinating. I love to do that. But when we get the images, how do we interpret them? And then you still have to discriminate. You still have to hierarchize. And then you turn back to the past and you think, okay, how much time did I lose in this? And maybe as someone loving life, etc., what I dream of is not documentary ethics, but more time ethics, time to dream, time to imagine, and time to let my imagination just go out of my computer, my screen, etc. And that's what I'm interested in talking with, also with artists who are on their screens, who get big data and produce big data. What do you do with that, and what do you want to do with them or with these amounts of data in the next years?
But I mean, it's a great example of the use of, like, it's an embodiment of the big data issue. Right? Supposedly, like, the definition of big data is like database is so large you can't process it with, like, by humans. So you need to write some algorithms, and then it will just sort itself out. You know, like if you have 10 million images, you can rely on ImageNet to, like, automatically label everything, and then you have hierarchies. But yeah, I mean, it's like a double, right? Because it's like you just produce more. But if you think about the historian's dream, it's like the access to Facebook's database. Every human on the planet's emotion for the last, like, 8 years, organized, categorized onto, like, a minute level of detail. It's incredible. It's like mind-blowing how well you can target people on Facebook. Just if you've ever tried to actually buy an ad on Facebook, it's just unreal. So it comes like the reason for, I mean, it's something like 29,000 different signals you can target. So you can target the one girl who's 22 years old, who loves football and black metal, who lives, like, there. And be like, okay, I want to advertise to her right now. It's incredible. So, but the point is then, as the position of the artist, you recognize that through the big data comes the power. Like, it's like the data, which is the material that all the startups, everyone from Silicon Valley, all neoliberals, they burn for it. It's like the greatest desire is the data. That's where the power is. So that's why I sit in front of my computer and I make data sets, because that's like where I can increase my agency. I can have like a stake in it. You know? Not just to be where the default is to give away your data, where actually you can make your own data. And it's something like Douglas Rushkoff's like program or be programmed. Either like inject your own agency into these systems, or be a slave to them and be like, oh shit, I can't do anything. So I think that's it, one part. Second part with data, it's also like if you're thinking about this recording everything, you have like the whole movement of the quantified self where you record absolutely everything, like every step you take. Like your iPhone tracks the step you take, even if you don't even know about it. Like you can be surprised to be like, oh, I took 5,000 steps yesterday. I don't know. It's like, is that supposed to like encourage you or make you depressed? I don't know.
I just want...
Just to answer what you said about collecting huge amount of data and then losing yourself in it. Again, we'll see when Jacopo thesis come out, but the example he takes are filmmakers who don't even just record things that happen. They can write a screenplay from Martino. They can, so it's much more subtle than just, oh, let's take whatever's out there and then we'll sort it out and that'll be the truth coming out. It's, again, you will have to see the example we do, maybe you do another session on artificial imagination from the point of view of this new Italian documentarist, because I think it's a very rich model which does this documentary work, not necessarily through the historian's approach of just taking things as they are, but using the camera in a creative way that is truthful to this documentary ethics, because you have lived for the whole year in the village. So first you live for a whole year in the village, and the documentary ethics is just seeing how things work and putting your attention with people, talking to people, etc. And then you can come with a camera, and then you can tell them maybe move here. So it's not just reality as it is, but you do something that's based on a documentary ethics, even if you might include some form of scenarization or scripting or something like that. So it's much, again, you have to read his work, which is really interesting and really rich.
It's a very complex question because documentary ethics was a very big part in France with Jean-Luc Godard, Huillet, Straub, Danet, and it was. I think it's a big subject because it's about ontology, the transformation from document to data, and how the data now feed the machine. So it's another noise. And for artists, I think when you work with computers is very funny because it's very unpredictable. Really, so it's very heuristic, like in painting, like in every media. I have a question about the exhibition, The Fear of Missing Out. What is the reaction of the people, of the audience, when they understood that it's non-human imagination?
Yeah, it's the most typical reaction I get, I think, that it's like get exposed as doing something sneaky. You know, it's like a trick to it. So I think, but it's like awe and horror. You know, it's a combination of like excitement and like disappointment, I think. But in the case of The Fear of Missing Out, I mean, the proposal is, okay, it's like produced by an algorithm, which is true. There's instructions, but in order to convert the instruction into artwork, you need the artist. So it's like the example of the coconut soap instruction, artwork, and it's a big step, right? So like you have to imagine. So I think it's more of a reflection of the, like, yeah, you can get back into the buzzwords, like meaningless jargon. You know, what is the algorithm in the normal person's brain? Like, is that the same as something mysterious that just exists? Or can you actually use the exhibition as a starting point for saying, okay, like this is one way of looking at that point of view. So I think it's surely it's a mix, yeah. Always. It's like always like, there's a lot of like doubleness in everything, yeah. I think. Question in the back. Your opinion matters. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you very much for your exposé. That was very, very rich and incentive. I had a question, but maybe I'm not sure I will be clear enough. And I guess you already respond a lot to it. It was the whole limit about questioning value and aesthetics by introducing data as algorithm into art. But you draw already some of the limits, which is especially linked to emotion. So could you say that at some point one, not a human brain, not a human imagination could produce something, and this could, have any value? Maybe it's not emotion, and maybe we are tricked by the fact that most of the time we put value on art based on emotion, and maybe it's not that. But what is really the limit about that? And then I have two little questions or more remarks. Did you have any interest about, for example, the implementation of algorithm and electronic tools into music, especially in the 70s and 80s with, for example, just Einstein on the Beach, which was for Philip Glass, for example, a way to, in a way, reconnect with the human brain and the way to experience something. And finally, did you ever heard of John Hammond, who is an artist who just projects his own head in every important place in Paris, and it's not really it's not just something that is made by a tool or a machine, but it's a way to just do something in the same way and to base his reconnaissance just by the network of the impression and the emotion people have from that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's like the former president of France, Jacques Chirac. He did that with business cards. No? He just sent business cards to everyone. And then when he's running for president, it's like everyone knows his name. And then it's like, hey, hello. It's a good strategy, yeah. I did something similar like a couple of years ago, like with the automatic curatorial tool for my work, where you could automatically select a couple of works based on keywords, and then you just have a pre-written emails. It's like, hey, I'm curator working on an exhibition of keywords. I would like to show this work. So yeah, I mean, it's a good strategy in some sense, I believe. And when it comes to the first question, the emotional state, yeah, I mean, it's something which, are you familiar with Cambridge Analytica? That's like something they like sell that they can do, like with the psych targeting. Like you target you not based on your markers as a consumer, but target you based on markers as like your emotional state, which was the story last year that like helped swing the election for Trump, which afterwards became, the fact was that they never used this new technology at all because it wasn't developed. It was just like too good of a story to pass up on. So yeah, I mean, for sure, eventually system already, I mean, if you're talking about the emotional targeting, already happens on a vast scale. Like you're already targeted every day based on your emotions, like through every social network. Because the advertising industry is extremely good at it, and they have been good at it for a long time, but now they're even better at it. You know, there's these stories surfacing that people think that Facebook is listening on their phone because all of a sudden something shows up in their advertisement feed that you just thought of or talked about. And that's like the ultimate evidence that they're extremely good at knowing when to advertise to you, because they don't listen to your phone. It's just that you leak so many signals to the network that they know. Like they already know that you're going to be interested in this based on your affinity with this person, with that person, with this person. So it's extremely disturbing the more you look into advertising models. And I think that obviously is from the agency of the artist. I can look at that and say like, hey, I want to use that for myself, because why not? Because it's extremely powerful. And then in order to demystify something or to target something or to question and critique it, you also got to at some point embrace it and use it for yourself. I think in a way to properly understand it. Because then you can play the same game using the same tools. And all these tools that the Trump campaign used, that Hillary Clinton used, that everybody used, is like readily available for anyone to use. And like anyone can advertise on Facebook. Anyone can do that. It's like all you need is like, I did an open call last year in Rio where I did like, okay, I'm going to do an algorithmic committee where the whole committee is an algorithm and it's going to reverse the bias of all the galleries in Rio. So like the bias of the galleries in Rio is that it's like 82% male, around 45 years of age, and they make paintings. So then in my group exhibition, which selected 64 artists, it was like 85% females of like diverging ages. But that was only promoted through Facebook advertisement. And for 20 euros a day, I reached something like 200,000 people. And I got like 1,500 applicants to my open call, which is like any institution will go like, what? That's like amazing. And I just do that with like a budget of like 100 euros because it's there. You know, it's like, it's just available. It's just like, it's kind of, most people don't feel empowered by it in a way because it's hidden or it's not easily accessible, but it's very, very much there. You know? So I think there's definitely ways to incorporate the idea of the emotional state into art production, to evaluate, to use that as a signal to optimize based on that. Yeah, completely.
Oui, je vais poser la question en français parce que voilà, désolé. Enfin, du coup, j'avais une question pour vous, Yves. Par rapport à cette fiction philosophie que vous avez élaborée par rapport au connecteur logique et tout ça, enfin, je trouve que c'est intéressant déjà de pointer le fait que le mode de fonctionnement des algorithmes n'est clairement pas neutre. Après, je voulais juste savoir si vous avez pu discuter avec des programmeurs qui auraient pu vous informer de la faisabilité de quelque chose comme ça. Est-ce que c'est possible de changer la structure même dont se fait un algorithme en changeant les connecteurs logiques?
Non, moi j'ai fait ça ce week-end, donc
d'accord, ok.
J'ai pu parler avec personne. L'autre, j'ai parlé avec Anthony Mazur et il a écrit ou repéré des bouts de code à droite et à gauche qui pouvaient ressembler à ce qu'on voulait faire. Mais l'idée, c'est un petit peu de dire, bah voilà, c'est une idée de stratégie, et après, qui est-ce qui pourrait l'implémenter en trouvant du code. Donc là, c'est pour ça que moi, je ne sais pas à quel point c'est ridicule de dire ça. où ça serait imaginable mais bizarroïde. Alors je sais pas, de nouveau, moi j'y connais rien, mais j'imagine que c'est le degré le plus proche de ce qui ressemble à du software et ce qui touche au hardware, et que là c'est très très difficile de faire ça, ou alors que tout bloque tout de suite, ou que ça n'a aucun intérêt. C'est pour ça que la stratégie, il me semble, c'est de dire, si on touche à ça, mais c'est à vous de dire que tout bloque tout de suite. Ce qui n'est pas plus mal, parce que de nouveau, il y a moins de carbone et on a défait le front de libération du carbone parce que tout est bloqué. Peut-être qu'on pourrait faire autre chose. Mais là, le peut-être que, il me semble, c'est plutôt là la fiction. Après, je ne sais pas, est-ce qu'on peut toucher à ces choses-là? Je ne sais pas, il y a des gens qui codent ici. Est-ce qu'on peut imaginer ça, ou il faut être littéraire pour imaginer ça?
On peut changer automatiquement les connecteurs.
Mais c'est...
Non, moi, par rapport à cette question, moi, je ne veux pas revenir sur la question de l'éthique documentaire.
Faut lire sa thèse.
Ouais, quand elle sera écrite. Mais par rapport à la question de changer les modes de fonctionnement numériques et créer de nouveau à travers un dérèglement, moi je ne m'y connais pas très bien dans le code et dans ces questions des connecteurs syntaxiques au niveau du code, mais par exemple au niveau du cinéma, il y a des gens qui travaillent sur l'image et comment l'image est compressée, est codée selon un certain de règles précises et qui essayent de mettre en place des dispositifs de règlement du code et d'invention, de création de nouvelles images qui ne sont pas prévues par l'algorithme de base. Et j'ai pensé à quelqu'un comme Jacques Perconte.
Bon, c'est là où il y a une vraie limite, mais il faudrait vraiment en parler longuement, on n'a plus le temps. Mais en fin de compte, le travail de Jacques Perconte ou tous les gens qui travaillent sur le glitch ne touchent pas au code. C'est-à-dire qu'ils ne touchent pas au langage de programmation, dans le sens où ils ne touchent qu'au résultat du langage de programmation. Or, les langages de programmation, ce n'est pas les utilisateurs qui les créent, c'est plutôt des entreprises ou des communautés open source. Donc il y a de toute façon la question du capital, des investissements, etc. Le glitch ne constitue pas une réponse, je crois, adaptée à la question de la domination du code, et entre autres parce que c'est très facile à simuler. Il y a aujourd'hui des plugins dans Photoshop qui font parfaitement du glitch. Et d'ailleurs, le glitch, aujourd'hui, est beaucoup utilisé dans la mode, dans le commerce, et est devenu un style un peu par défaut. Donc, je dirais, il faut bien distinguer la couche de la programmation informatique, qui définit un peu le cadre dans lequel on est, avec le résultat, qui peuvent être des différences de compression. Mais la différence de compression, ce n'est pas un changement de la norme MPEG 4 ou MPEG 5. La normalisation a lieu ailleurs, dans d'autres types de comités. D'ailleurs, qui ne sont pas spécifiquement des entreprises. Pour le coup, c'est des comités nationaux, publics, etc. Donc voilà, donc attention au glitch, parce qu'il y a une mythologie, sans aucun doute, du glitch comme erreur fondamentale qui vient interrompre le code informatique, ce qui n'est pas le cas.
Et donc de rentrer, de réussir à craquer jusqu'à ces couches inférieures de ce qui permet le codage, pas de rester en surface, tu dis des questions de compression, mais d'aller, là c'est imaginable ou c'est simplement, tu peux me montrer que c'est pas possible du tout?
Alors le problème, c'est qu'il faut créer un nouveau langage. Il y a des gens qui ont créé des nouveaux langages. Par exemple, il y a un langage qui permet de communiquer avec Dieu. Il y a même un système d'exploitation, qui permet de communiquer avec Dieu, qui a été fait par un schizophrène, qui fonctionne d'ailleurs, qui est téléchargeable. Mais là, ce n'est pas le problème de la possibilité technique de le faire, c'est le problème de l'adoption. Est-ce que la communauté des développeurs va adopter un nouveau langage de programmation? On ne peut pas craquer un langage de programmation.
D'accord, là c'est impossible par définition.
Sauf dans le cas des réseaux de neurones qui commencent à apparaître, mais là on va vraiment dans des trucs très techniques, où commence à apparaître des langages qui s'autoprogramment et qui font des nouveaux jeux d'instruction. Là, ce serait possible. Voilà, mais parce qu'on applique l'apprentissage profond à la programmation elle-même. C'est tout à fait émergent pour l'instant.
Donc en 2026, ça sera possible que
tout
fonctionnera comme ça et que là, on pourra effectivement
2026, tout est possible.
Ok, super. Ah non, mais là, c'est tout ce qu'il me fallait.
C'est la définition de 2026, tout est possible.
Merci. Il nous faut rendre la salle. Merci beaucoup, Jonas. Merci, Yves. Et puis...